As you guys can, make sure you hit the like button. Thanks.
Evening. Great White North, eh? Hey, Brent. Hey, Brent, I'm really curious to hear what you thought about that video on the LE6920 CR6920. We are Penn State. Hey, Steve.
I'm going to give it a couple minutes for people to come in.
Oh, New York State behind the lines. My mother just told me about the taxes that they reassessed her house for, just astronomical. Carrie, aim low. Hope you enjoyed the XCRM video.
He said finally, on vacation down south, finally got some Whataburger. Missed it so much. We were in Florida for a few days, and there's no Whataburger. And
That was horrible.
Chris was going to be going through withdrawals.
Maryland. You know, Carrie, I was supposed to send it over to Heather, but I had an interesting thing that showed Air Force basic training. The Air Force drill sergeant with his hat on. And he was telling them that they had 10 minutes before they had their mandatory nap.
And people say you have no personality.
Kentucky. New York, another guy behind the lines.
So hopefully you guys have seen my updates. Q&As will be moving to Thursdays, so make note of that. I know people always have questions about, a set schedule. We really just do it based on availability as far as, when we're filming other things, and if we can work it in every Thursday, we try to do that, or at the very least every other Thursday. But yeah, we have to base it on our daughter. Well, one of our daughters does cheer. She's an all-star cheerleader, and her schedule is pretty hectic. And so based on the new team that she's placed on, we always have to, arrange it around that. So for the next year, it'll be Thursdays.
Wisconsin. Gotta miss my Sprecher root beer.
Okay, we're going to jump right in there. If you guys would like to donate during the chat, you can click the $sign and attach a question, or just as a thank you for doing the chat. We prefer donor box, which I'm going to plop the link in down here below, just because donor box only takes no more than 5%, whereas Google takes 30% of your donations. So 30% of any donations you make goes straight to the man at Google. So if donor box works the same way, you just click on the link, add your question to the notes section. I have my phone here. You'll get priority over all the other questions that are coming in, and then you don't have to wait. But I always go back up to the top and pull questions and try to stay in somewhat of an order. But eventually, when we get so many questions that come in, I do start to skip around. So we'll try to get through as many as possible tonight. I know it's been a little bit of time. Steve, thank you so much for your donation that you made earlier. I'll be looking out for your question, or you can email it to me separately, and I'll be watching for that. Andrew on donor box, you're up first. He wants to know, my Glock 43X trigger is somewhat painful to shoot. What is your opinion on replacing the trigger, and any suggestions?
Well, one of the biggest things I recommend you do is get some G96 CLP and put a few drops on where the trigger bar meets the connector and work it in there. That can help trigger quite a bit, especially if it's dry. Now, Glock triggers can be hit and miss. My Glock 42, my 380, is the worst. I own probably 18, 19 Glocks. And the Model 43 is absolutely brutal. I'm sorry, Model 42. I've tried everything with that. I still won't replace the parts there because these are carry guns, and I don't want to have any extra light pulls. I would really give that a try first. Try to get some lubricant in that area between those two parts. That might help you out quite a bit.
He also wanted to know, with no background besides quote average sized adult male, any suggestions or recommendations on a first gun or handgun?
You know, there's a lot of really nice guns out there. A lot of it has to do with your pocketbook. You know, it has to do with whether you want manual safety, whether you're comfortable without safeties. There are literally so many. Um, Another big part of it is how much time are you willing to put into it. If you're not willing to go out to the range and do some shooting to get used to an autoloader, manipulate the slide, how to clear malfunctions. If you're not willing to do that, the revolver is the way to go. If you're willing to do that, to go to the range and put some time into it, you have a lot of options. You know, we're going to be seeing some videos coming up on my new everyday carry gun. So that's something that's going to be coming up.
You've been hinting at that for a while, so I'm going to have to really nail you down.
That's the one that's scheduled for tomorrow.
Oh, is it? Okay, great.
Yeah, there's a couple on there.
We have a big filming day tomorrow.
Yes. You know, another carry gun that I have when I want a larger gun, I carry a G45. That's really a nice one as well. But you're going to see a video coming up on the CZP10F. Another beautiful pistol. I probably would say the PT. You know, you want to go with the P10C instead of the F as a carry gun. But I will tell you personally, the two best carry guns, and you're going to see a video where I compare these two. Again, it's for my everyday carry. I'm trying to make up my mind between the SIG P320 and the Hellcat. And that's going to be a video coming up, and that's what's going to make that different. There's been tons of videos to compare those two. What makes mine different? This one I'm doing for myself because I wanted a new everyday carry, and those are the two that I'm deadlocked at both. I haven't, you know, I still haven't really chose yet because it's really hard. But those are two excellent ones.
Mark on Donor Box. Thank you, Mark. He says, I'm confused by all the Beretta 92 variants available. Which ones do you like?
Well, again, it depends on what features that you want. You know, personally, I have the regular M992 FS. You have a lot of nicer ones out there, like the Brigadiers, which unfortunately aren't made anymore, which are the more durable ones. A lot of the real changes have to do with the frames, like the M9A3. If you want to go with with a different frame, you know, the guns mechanically are pretty much all the same. They have the different variants. You know, for me, I like the FS where you have the manual safety. The other ones are the G models where you don't have a manual safety, you have a decocker, but that's it. That's really what makes the big difference.
Abram on Donor Box. Thank you, Abram. He says, thank you for all your videos and the Q&A. What is your opinion for the best weapons light for a Glock 19?
You know, the Streamlight, what is it? TLR. The 6 is the compact one. But the one that Streamlight puts out, they have one out there that's 1,000 lumens. And it's an absolutely beautiful light. I've been using that. You'll see it on several of my videos.
Yeah, I feel like there's a link to one of the latest videos that links to that light in particular. Was it the Hellcat that maybe?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
That was a TLR6 that was Streamlight. But I believe there's another one. I just got the the new Streamlights, and I've been
Sean
using the
says
hell
the
out of them.
TLR 7A is the best. For
Okay. But yeah, 1,000 lumens on a handgun is pretty damn awesome.
Yeah. And Sean also just sent me a link, and somebody else said this too. I just saw that SIG is suing Springfield for the Hellcat.
Really? I guess the Hellcat, as far as I'm concerned, has put them out as far as micro carry guns. Glock dropped the ball with their single column magazine and 6 rounds, 7 rounds. When you have the Hellcat and the P365, which carry 10 rounds and it's more narrow, more comfortable than their G26, yeah, Glock dropped the ball on a really good carry gun. Now, let me say something else about the Streamlight. Now, the two guns that I'm going through for carrying, which you're trying to decide between, both of them, the Hellcat and the P365, have TLR6s on them, which are both light and laser. Whichever gun that I choose will have that on there as a permanent fixture. It's an excellent. It's only 100 lumens versus 1,000 lumens, but for an EDC or something you're going to be up close with, that 100 lumens is perfect.
It looks like they're saying it's the TLR1.
Okay.
It says that one has 1,000 lumens. The 7A has 500.
Unfortunately, it's in a box over there. I can't get to it at the moment, so I can't tell you for sure, but you'll be seeing it.
The office is kind of a mess right now.
You will see it on the G22 Gen 5. That video has it on it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you look in the description box, it'll probably have a link to it there. If using the Osprey piston system on a 7.62 by 39 10.5-inch barrel, which buffer and spring combo should I use? The H3 and would the Geisley 42 spring and H3 combo be a good option?
I would be going with an H2 buffer to start with. If you saw massive overgassing with it going forward, H3, I would really need to see how it will function to see if an H3 was needed. My guess is an H2 will be all you will need, and I really don't recommend the Geisley spring. I would go with a standard M4 carbine spring. Again, I don't really see the benefit to the Geisley. Expensive, and I've had some additional problems with it. But I would start off with an H2 and see where it goes from there. I have the that same set up in a 16-inch 5.56, and I have an H2 in it, and it runs beautifully.
What does the quote circle 1 on the Colt 223 20-round mags denote?
Those were very, very early. And I'm sorry to say I don't recall. If Brent is out there, Brent might have an idea on that. Yep, Brent, you might want to chime in on that if you know, because you and Alex are probably two of the biggest magazine collectors that I know. I have a couple of those that have the circle ones on there. I know that Denounce is one of their subcontractors. I want to say that it's okay industries, but I'm not sure. But again, I think Alex and Brent might be a little bit better to talk about that one.
Joey on DonorBox, thank you, Joey. Does a 110 grain 6.8 bullet and a 110 grain 30 cal bullet take the same amount of time to get down the barrel? In other words, is dwell time impacted by caliber and weight, or just weight?
No, dwell is by many things. Dwell is mostly to do with port pressure. Once air pressure and port pressure go along, it has more to do with the propellant than it does anything else of how the propellant is. It's really apples and oranges, because you would say Winchester 748 ball powder loaded up in a 223 or a 5.56 will give you a specific chamber pressure and a specific port pressure. You switch it over to IMR 3031 or 4895 or something along those lines, you will see different even with the same bullet. That has more to do with your propellant than it does the projectile, but again, it all goes together. It's all sort of a symbiont the way that it works. It's not really, you really can't say this caliber causes this. The propellants have a major amount to do with it. Yeah, Don.
What are your thoughts on the Gen 2 galil?
I've been doing some research on it. So far as I know now, it's only available in pistol, and I can tell you I have one hell of a time getting anything from IWI. I've had one of their 308 divorce on order forever, one of their new shotguns forever. To me, it looks more like it's just lipstick and rouge. It's not really a lot of nothing really mechanical. I'll try to get one, as I said, but I have a hell of a time getting things out of those guys. I try regularly, talking to Jeremy over there.
What exactly happened to the 224 Valkyrie round? It got off to a really hot start and then fizzled out fast.
It did. It died. It died a very quick death. I have a rifle right here. Here I've been wanting to go out and mess around with it. Because of the lack of interest in the 2.2 Valkyrie, it hasn't really been on the top of my list. There's a lot of cartridges that come in and they hit big and then they die. The last really big hit cartridge that in 5.56, I think, was probably the 300 Blackout. That came and it stayed. Even the 6.8 SPC has stayed. But as a commercial round, the 6.5 Grendel is less popular than the 6.8 SPC, but it's still stuck around. There's certain things that 5.56 wasn't meant to do, and you're really pushing it with the pressures and everything on that. Yeah, it did. It's not a very quick death. You don't hear anything about it at all.
Did LMT change their process for MRP barrels? New 5.56 16-inch barrels has what looks like chrome on the outside of the crown and the rear, and the barrel is black. The threads seem to have phosphate.
Well, the outside would all be phosphate, and chrome plating, you get the crown also. That's normal. The chrome on the crown is what prevents damage to the crown, making it that much harder. I haven't seen any. I've got some newer LMT barrels. I don't really see anything different on them. LMT is offering a lot more barrels now. They're different weights and things. I've been having a hell of a time getting anything out of LMT that's new. It's almost been impossible for me to get anything. I talk to Carl on a regular basis, but I have a hell of a time. He's supposed to send me at some point one of the new Estonia rifles. And those of you who know, I'm working on Black Rifle 3. We've chosen our title, our cover. And the cover of the book's going to have a picture of an Estonia soldier with their piston rifle on there. So obviously, you guys know I think the world of LMT, but I can't get anything out of them right now. I need the newer ones. They have new length and MRP lengths in the rail. They have a new trigger mechanism that's very similar to like the HK, which you can engage the safety with the hammer forward. They have some newer gas. They're changing some of the. They're going with more mid-length gas tubes and getting rid of the carbine length. They're looking to completely discontinue the use of the carbine length from mid-length.
Yeah, Chris is actually wanting to do a mock-up of the cover and
as a motivational thing.
It's a daunting task to start that book, but I'm excited for it. I know our son's excited for it too. Have you ever thought to do a video on the M16 bayonets?
I only have one, so in order to do something like that, I would need several different bayonets for it. It's and the bayonet that I have is nothing special. So because of the fact that I don't have a lot of them, it's probably not something that I would do. Again, I can only really do videos on what I have access to.
What are your thoughts on adjustable gas box on a duty rifle? Palmetto State 556 upper is overgassed.
I would change that with using a heavier buffer. I do not recommend adjustable gas blocks unless it's a 2-position for suppressed and unsuppressed on a duty rifle. That's not something that you want to change because say you're up north and you have a set for summertime and then you don't redo it come wintertime, you could have problems with it short stroking. Fully adjustable gas blocks are not for duty use or military use. They're more of a commercial. I would only recommend going with one that has a suppressed and unsuppressed setting.
Dustin on DonorBox. Thank you, Dustin. Are the Brownells retro barrels chrome lined?
Yes. No, excuse me. No, they're not. Those barrels are made by, I believe those are Faxon barrels. No, they're nitride, and then they put a finish on them that gives it the appearance of manganese phosphate, but it's not. But no, they're not.
Are you going to review the Vestava ZPAP N70? I
have it right next to me right now. That will be going out on Monday for testing. And I can tell you from looking at it, it's gorgeous. From what I'm seeing with it so far, that's probably the nicest import that's available right now. I think I would even like this one over the Arsenal.
And what's also going to be going out on Monday is his new kit for the range.
Our first time we're going to be doing our steel targets with our new mobile or new remote camera. So we're looking to get going on that. It'll be the first time we're going to try that. Hopefully it'll go easily.
It never goes easily.
Heather's not going to be there to take care of the IT for that. So hopefully I'll be able to figure it out.
My son will be in her editing house on Monday.
My son's not looking forward to having to carry that down 100 yards. He's dreading that, but it'll be some good exercise for him.
Yeah, our son has done the range footage for a while now. He's actually he's really good at doing it. This is going to be, he would do exactly what I would do, and he goes even beyond that. But this is going to be different, and I think it's going to make the range footage less boring.
Yeah.
I know some of you like it as it is. You're like, it's the range. It's not boring. It's great. But a lot of you, we get a lot of kickback about how boring it is. And I think that this is really going to set it apart. But, I am split into too many different pieces for SIAS, and I can't, when he goes to the range, it's an entire day. And so then I can't edit all the other stuff.
We get a lot of comments. Why don't you show groups? Why don't you show groups? I think a lot of you guys may or may not know that I do have a lot of health problems, and arthritis is a lot of it. It's a lot of it. So I have a harder time getting a lot of the more precision groups. Brandon from the gunroom over in Shenandoah, I can get him out every 3 months. And Brandon is an excellent shot. And he does a lot of that more accuracy shooting with rifles. at longer distances because he doesn't have my medical issues. So that's why you don't see as much of the targets as you probably would like. The steel will be easier because I have a lot more of a distance where I can shoot and hit it.
So there's a lot of exciting stuff coming from SAS, and there are some things that are going down. Me and Chris had, one of our lunch meetings today where we sit and we really like hash things out and talk about stuff that's going on. And I'm not in a place to where I want to talk about it just yet, but all I can tell you is it's very exciting, and it's great for the channel. It's great for, without saying anything, we will make a video about it at some point. Things are rolling in the right direction, and we're excited about the direction that it's
continually trying to grow.
Continually trying. Connor on Donor Box. Thank you, Connor. Do you have any thoughts on the Black Hills 223 75 grain match HP? I managed to get a few hundred rounds of the 77 grain OTM, but even more of the 223. Excellent.
You're going to be getting a little bit less velocity with the 223, but you're still getting the best precision ammunition on the face of the earth. Black Hills is the gold standard, and you're talking to somebody who that's what I shoot regularly. They are the gold standard. You will never find a bad box of ammunition coming out of Black Hills.
Carrie just made a very generous donation on Donor Box. You really didn't have to do that, Carrie.
No, I feel bad about the Air Force jokes.
I think he enjoys the Air Force jokes. He wants to know when the SAS Invitational Shootout is going to be.
Okay. Talk to Heather about that. Carrie, I have to tell you also, I was talking yesterday on the phone with oh God, why is my brain not working? Alex Robinson Arms, and we were talking about you. I was telling him that I have one of my viewers is a big Robinson fanboy, and he'd liked hearing about that.
Yeah, it's always kick that little nugget back over to Heather. If I could clone myself into a couple other people so I could get some help, that would be great. At some point, I'm probably going to have to need some help, because as far as these exciting things, it's going to then divide me even more into what I need to do for the channel. But it's going to be, I'm excited for it. I really am. It's exciting. Oh, and when Brent said, Chris, the Circle 1 mags were early Colt commercial sporter mags, 1964 to 1965 range per Alex.
Awesome. The one that I have is interesting because it says Colt AR10 in the bottom, and it's a green magazine. It was actually painted green. It wasn't anodized. It didn't have the hard coat. It didn't have the dry film. It was painted green. Thanks, Brent. There's always guys out there who know more than I do on things.
And he rustled that information up pretty quick between him and Alex. So Thank you guys. Bought an armor's manual and patch via the invoice you sent. Any ETA? Thanks again. ETA on armor's manuals, I actually just have them. We were gone for a few days, but armor's manuals, it's, I've had problems a lot of time getting those out. So please be patient with those sometimes, because when I get them, they can be damaged and they're bent and they'll have scratches all over them. And he knows, and I'm just like,
I won't send those out.
I have to return them, and I have to, have them send me more. So then they have to wait for them to be printed again, and it's like a whole thing. But I actually have the right manuals that are not damaged this time. So if you ever hear me say that, it's because it's a constant ongoing issue with the printer when they come in, that they are damaged, and then I could literally lose an entire batch. But I will get those out. He bought a Colt enhanced patrol rifle, deburr marks on feed ramps, and what looks like an unmachined material and trigger guard is the standard.
Trigger guard, yes. But for as far as the feed ramps, what can happen a lot of times, and my guess is if you were to look at your upper receiver, it does not say M4 on the front. So what can happen is if they try to use a standard M16A4 type upper receiver with a M4 feed ramp, barrel extension, they have to break the edges. So they take a Dremel tool and they will wallow that out, so it breaks the edges on the feed ramps, so you don't have anything caught when it goes up. That basically is when they got mismatches of parts with the standard M4 upper receiver and M4 barrel extensions. It just goes right together because you have the feed ramp cuts on the extension as well as the upper receiver. If it's either or, if one of them doesn't have extensions versus the other, you have to do some modifications to it. So my guess is that's what it was.
Just want to add to the new Colt stuff. Just got a new 6933 upper, and I have a cage coated upper with M4 mark, C carrier, and NPC bolt. Barrel is Roscoe.
Like I said, you never know what you're going to get. And let me address this again, because I have people who watch the video who still don't get it. I am not making any claims that the rifles are any more or less quality than the ones that are put out today. The only point is the ones that are made today, the parts are not made by Colt as per TDP military parts, which is why we buy Colt over everybody else. The parts they're getting now are outsourced. So the real reason why we buy Colt, we're not getting any longer. That does not mean the parts are not right. I don't know what the quality control is. All I know is the parts that are made by the TDP at Colt, I know what they are. The parts that are coming in, you don't know. And the rifles that we see, it's a complete mixed match of parts. Some are marked, some aren't. It's not like it was before, where if you saw the LE6920, I had the original one, had all the U.S. government marks on it. All was the same, every single part. And this rifle, the CR6920, didn't have most of the marks. Those parts were clearly outsourced. You had up the front sight base that wasn't marked F, which is part of the TDP. You didn't even have a M4 marked upper receiver, which means that upper receiver was not built off of the TDP, because it would have to have that. Again, we're not talking if the guns are any good, if they're going to shoot. They probably shoot just as well. The whole point of the video was to show that these are not the same rifles as you were getting those years ago.
Carrie said you should feel bad about the jokes.
No, I can't.
What are the pros and cons of the 3-lug AK style bolt compared to the 7-lug stoner style bolt? Has modern CNC machining changes these at all?
No. 7 lugs is better than 3. You have more engagement surface. The only benefit, if it's even a benefit, probably not really at all. You have more of a throw on the AK on an AK type bolt with reaction 2 connect point is the 7. But when it's closed, you have a better lockup. It gives you more accuracy. It's definitely better.
Guys, wait. I love when things just disappear.
A ghost in the iPhones. But I am not saying that new Colt rifles are not any good. That is not what I'm saying. It's that they're different. They're not they're not the standard from which they were before, for as far as having all the GI marks on them.
And does that make you feel bad?
Yes, it does. Carrie, I will really try to get with the air jokes.
He's learned his ways. So, Carrie, essentially your donation is so that he doesn't make those jokes. Is the carbine gas length set to a standard amount of inches, or is it between a range of inches? I have 2 barrels. One is definitely carbine, but the other barrel's gas port is 1 1/4 inch shorter.
We have to go back to milspec, which how the gun was designed. You have an exact length on your gas tube, and an exact length on your barrel, and an exact diameter for your gas tube. This is when we're starting to get into parts that are made outside of the TDP, that are reverse engineered, and also we start losing your compatibility with interchangeability. That's not something I've seen before. Some manufacturers will offer a different, their own proprietary length. In fact, if you look at Knights with their 5.56 gas length, it's not mid-length; it's slightly longer. You can have some differences, but if you're looking at an exact carbine length gas system, it's consistent.
I have an Armalite AR10 and want to know if I can add a SAS barrel with adjustable gas block. I can run it, and can I run it suppressed?
Yeah, absolutely. The valve that you'll find on the status rifle, I have one and I love it, is a suppressed and unsuppressed. Those barrels are fine. It doesn't matter whether it's an A or a B. Those go both ways. It doesn't affect what your magazine feed is. But I got to tell you this, I don't know what the current status of Armalite is for as far as quality. I've tried to get guns from those guys ever since Mark Westrom sold the company. They won't send me anything. If any of you guys have a newer production Armalite rifle who are willing to loan it for a review, I would love to. But Armalite, you just don't see them anymore. You'll never go to a gun shop and see them.
He also really wants to get a new Python too. We were talking about that. If anybody is willing to let him borrow a new Python, a new production one, that would be great. Because he has.
I have a 1973.
So it would be a really great comparison side by side between the new and the old. So if anybody would like to send that over, that would be great.
I wish I could give you more information on what the quality. My barrel, it's a Western Armalite. That's a half MOA gun with a Black Hills 175 grain OTM. For as far as what SAC's doing right now, I have no idea.
And you can email me if you do have any of those guns that he just referenced to H. Bartacci.
Also looking for a VP70.
Hang on, Chris. H. Bartacci at smallarmsolutions.com. You're not going to get anything if you don't let me say my email address.
I was looking for HK VP70.
Do you have any opinion on Beretta made in Tennessee? I just got one that was missing the trigger bar spring and front sight dot painted slightly to the right.
That's a production issue. All the machines and everything were brought from Accokeek to Kentucky. It's the same machines. I know a lot of people did go from Maryland to Kentucky. There should be absolutely no difference between the two of them. You really can't say just because you see one gun, but you get some issues that, there's a problem with the company. Every company, no matter how good they are, bad products do get out. There's no question, no matter how good you are. That could have been a Monday morning gun or a Friday afternoon gun where somebody was just rushing to get it out. Beretta should take care of that for you. Does
running steel instead of brass ruin the gun over time?
No, all it does is it makes your extractor wear a little bit more. On American-made guns, AKs are designed for that. The extractors the way they are, but most of the American and NATO guns are designed to work with a softer material, where you have the extractor, which is harder than the brass. It lasts longer. Well, you start using steel, it can wear it a little bit more. But no, the biggest problem with the steel ammunition is not the fact that it's made out of steel. It's the propellants, and it's the fact that it's not made to any real specification. And generally, they tend to be on the light side of port pressure and chamber pressure.
Thoughts on PWS Mark 111 Mod 1?
Love it. I prefer the Mod 2s. I like the newer, lower receiver. We have two videos that went up recently, one on the 5.56 and one on the 7.62x39. They make absolutely gorgeous guns. The right side bolt release is beautiful. Gas is the nicest long stroke piston that's available for the AR platform. It's got a progressive gas venting on it. They're excellent rifles. I definitely could recommend them more. The differences between the Mod 1 and the Mod 2. The Mod 1 uses standard milspec upper receivers. The Mod 2 uses a lightweight. A lighter, there's no forward assist, which is needed anyways. And the same thing with the Mod 2 lower. It's lighter. It's got some light and guts in it. It offers you all the AMP features where the Mod 1 is a standard mil spec.
Daryl, thanks for your donation on Donor Box. I didn't see a question attached to it. I know you were trying to figure out how to donate. If you want to plop it down below, I'll look out for it, or you can send it to me separately by email. hbartacci at smallarmsolutions.com. Thoughts on Rowan 10 lightweight AR10?
I can give you one. Not seen one.
Is it common for 10.5-inch barrels to be pistol gas length, or can they be carbine length too? Would this also be dependent on the caliber too?
Everything should be carbine length with the exception of the 300 blackout. The only pistol should be 300. Like you should not have a pistol length and for 5.56 at all.
How big was Colt's full auto commercial market prior to 1986? Were the full auto ARs expensive relative to their semi-auto counterparts? And did Colt sell a lot of full auto weapons to the general public?
They were the same price. If anything, they were a little bit more expensive because you had ATF paperwork that went along with them, but it was so you had a very select group of people, a few people who knew about it, and I don't think it was really that big of a deal. They didn't sell a whole lot of them because you didn't have what we have now for social media, where it tells you that you can have them. So it was a different time. But for as far as the cost was concerned, no, it doesn't cost any more to make a full auto than it does to make a semi-auto. The only difference is
Should put that up to the camera. No, and it got loose.
Oh, the only difference is just you're adding one part. So no, there was they do have to register them with ATF, so there's additional cost of that over the commercial.
Oh my God.
No, if you were to see what those things cost pre-86, it'd make you sick versus what you're paying now. When you can get a real M16A1 for $500 or so, and now you're looking at 30,000.
You should have held that up to the camera.
We took care of it.
No, we didn't. It's not dead. It's loose. We have massive horseflies in Texas, so I look over the screen and it's just like laying there on the camera. Like,
yeah, unfortunately, what the 1960 Gun Control Act did was it turned NFA full autos into a rich man's game. This basically made it now that unless you are rich or very well off, you're not going to be into that market. And the people who own the full autos right now, they want to keep it that way because, if it's never going to happen, but if say they cancel it and you can own full autos again, here's their $30,000 investment. Now it's only worth, $1,000. So, they definitely want to keep it that way. But unfortunately, it's a rich man's game now, and it sucks.
Please do not spam the chat. If you have a question, and asking it 12, 15 times in like 10 minutes isn't going to get it asked or answered any quicker. Sorry, I'm trying to get through some of the chat on here.
That's why I couldn't do this without her.
Yeah, there's some conversation back and forth. Is it 100% necessary for all handguns to have a firing pin safety? Surely 9mm Makarov pistols wouldn't need it with those extra hard comp block primers.
In my opinion, any gun that you would use as a carry gun that you plan on carrying loaded should have them. I've had too many instances, and I've had cases, when I was in forensics, where it shows that those guns dropped on their muzzles, the inertia can set them off. So, in my opinion, if you have a gun that you want to carry loaded, a firing pin safety is absolutely necessary.
When Casey developed the SR-47 that's chambered in 7.62x39, but unfortunately had its own issues, how come KAC didn't scale down their current SR-25 rifle to be optimized for the Russian cartridge?
There was no need for it. The KAC back in the day was driven solely off of military contracts. They really didn't care about the commercial end of it. And the SR-47 was designed for a specific request from SOCOM. They had a lot of problems with it, and they just never went forward with it. And quite frankly, their niche was not making guns like that. Their niche was making SR-25s, which was what made the company famous. They were the first one really to show. Well, actually, no. The original ANI AR10s had a 7.62 up there that took AK magazines, but they were one of the first ones that showed that it could be done, but it just dropped there. If there was no U.S. government need for it, they weren't going to tool up for it, nor were they going to finish it.
Can you tighten a castle nut without a vise, just the AR tool?
No, you need the torque pressures. You need to get that down to. No way. Again, you're looking at 30 foot-pounds, back it off, 30 foot-pounds, back it off, 30 foot-pounds, and now you got to index it for the gas tube, or you're going to do 30 foot-pounds, back it off, go to 40 foot-pounds, back it off, and then leave it at 60. If you don't have to index your barrel nut. Yeah, this is not, you can't do this stuff by hand.
The SIG 516 and HK 416 have a nipple-like part on the barrel extension for over the beach. What is this called, and is this part available aftermarket?
What that is it is, I guess if you want to call it anything, you want to call it an extractor guard. What that does is when the bolt locks into the lock position, that sits right on top of the extractor. So if the gun was to overpressure and blow out, the extractor won't be able to blow out, and it would keep all the pressure in the barrel. So it's designed for pressure. The only companies that I know who do that are Caracal, HK, and SIG does it specifically with their military guns. I don't know if they do them with anything else anymore, but they did it with the military guns. And no, it's not anything I've ever seen offered as an upgrade. But basically what it does is it prevents the extractor from blowing out if it's overpressured. We talk about that in my videos on the HK 416. We talk about it in my Caracal ones.
Is a high-pressure firing pin and bolt really necessary in the AR platform 6.5 Creedmoor?
Most companies don't do it. If you look at LMT, for instance, I've got an LMT 65 Creedmoor barrel, and I've shot probably 500, 700 rounds through it. Not a problem. It depends on the way the bolt is built. Most companies don't offer that. They don't do that. It's not necessary. If the bolt's not made properly, you may need to. But overall, I've never had. I don't think I've ever really had, with the exception of Diamondback Firearms. I think Diamondback Firearms is the only company that I've ever had that came with that.
Been toying with buying the ARX 100 in the near future. I think it's a pretty interesting and underrated gun. Would you buy it or just save money to buy ammo and parts upgrades for the ARs I already own?
They're very different guns. I own an ARX 100. The only problem you're going to have, dude, is they don't import them no more. They don't make them no more. So you're going to have to find one that's been here. It's a totally different rifle than an AR-15. If that's what you want, that's what you want. It's an excellent gun, and it has some really neat features. It is the most ambidextrous firearm I have ever seen. Being able to switch your ejection left or right, fully ambidextrous. It's got an excellent cold hammer forged chrome line barrel. It's a military grade weapon. I like mine. ARs you're always going to be able to get, but if that's something that you want to get, I probably would jump on it because they don't make them no more. And since Beretta didn't really have a lot of luck selling those, I don't expect to see the 308 being imported or being made here.
Daniel says best reviews on YouTube.
Thank you.
Your book on the AR-15, is it available anywhere? I mean, maybe on eBay, maybe priced up somewhere. Lots of good, exciting things coming for that. That's, stay tuned. Black Rifle 2 will never be dead. It'll always be resurrected. So you may not be able to get it today, but you'll be able to get it at some point. Adnan wants to know, if LMT did develop a complete rifle chambered in 7.62x39, would they be better off scaling down their AR-10, the LMT 308 MWS, to accommodate that particular cartridge, along with taking AKM magazines, something that's comparable to the Colt CK901?
Here's the full story on that. I have talked to Carl on many occasions about him offering that barrel. And he has a guy who does his sales and marketing who does not believe it's viable. They had made a small number of barrels for a potential contract, and they didn't do anything with it. They put them up on Gunbroker, and they were gone in seconds. I believe that it's a very viable caliber. They make probably one of the best bolts available for 7.62x39. I even sent Carl over the video where I did the Black Rifle Arms showing that there's good magazines now, so it's viable. But the guy who's in charge doesn't seem to think that anybody wants it, and he won't do it. So unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see it unless Carl gets involved with it and says, "Yeah, you need to do it." So believe me, if they won't do it just that, where they'll have to do is a barrel, magazine, and bolt, there's no way they're going to redesign a gun around AK magazines because they don't feel that it's beneficial, or the current guy who's in charge of Mark doesn't see it as being beneficial. I regret not being able to have the opportunity to get one of those barrels in 760x39. I would have loved to have one myself. I hope someday that they do another run. But no, it's unfortunately it is not going to happen that I can see.
When you clean your rifles, are you just focusing on removing the carbon, or both carbon and copper in the barrel?
I use the bore cleaner, G96 bore cleaner. That takes care of both. I generally let the bore cleaner soak for about 5 or 10 minutes before I start scrubbing.
G96 is one of only 3 affiliates that we have at SAS because of, he's been using them for 20 years. And so that's,
more than that.
Yeah. Well, we've been together
20,
God, since I was like 18 years old.
And I used it long before you were around.
I'm sure you did. But a long time, we'll just say that. We do have a code for G96 and a link there if you'd like to.
There's a new product that
there's 10% off.
There is a new product that I've been using as well. I've been doing a lot of shooting with the M1 Garand and the Beulah M14. And those of you guys who are familiar with those two guns, you use grease on those. They have a gun grease that now I'm using, and I'm having a lot of good luck with that as well. It's the first time I've ever used it because I've never had any guns that needed grease before.
He said he found Black Rifle 2 at a gun show.
Oh, really? Wow.
Well, she, Susan at Collector Grade sells to dealers, and dealers buy them. We've always kind of wondered who the dealers were, but yeah, I guess that's very plausible that it's, people that go to gun shows and sell it. Hopefully they're not jacking the price up too badly. Do you build your own AR-15s or just buy computer ones?
I haven't really built them too much lately. I do have several that I've built. A lot of retro type stuff. I've done a lot of building on. I do have a couple rifles that I built for, what I felt was ideal. We did a video on one of those.
I think we did a few videos on the boutique. He calls them boutique rifles. But
it's been quite some time since I've done any builds. I'm trying to get some parts from Brownells. I want to do a build again since I got the new setup with my with the bench, and I have a vise on it now. I do another build, so I'm trying to get some of the. I want to build an M16A1 carbine retro, so I'm waiting for the receivers to come from Brownells so we can do that. So you'll be seeing that coming up again. But I don't know a lot. Most of the guns, I like to do stuff that you guys can buy. If I do one of those, okay, here's the list of the parts, and you got to go out searching for the parts. It's a little bit harder than, all right, here's a gun, you can buy it.
Thank you, Mike, on Donnerbox. You just made a donation.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for answering my oddball questions. I recently bought a 10.5-inch KOF barrel in 7.62x39. I contacted the factory, but I've only received half answers. You guys have a great and informational videos too. Thank you.
I don't know what's happening with POF since Frank passed. I don't know how it's run. I don't know what's going on with R&D right now. I think it's still up in the air. I think his son took it over, but I don't know.
John says, "Hey, Heather, just saying hi, battling insomnia tonight. Your friend from Switzerland." I think I know who that is.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
He's our saint.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Switzerland, my buddy Mishiko, he just imported a whole bunch of rifles. For those of you guys who like the SIG 550s, he's actually going down to a port here in Texas to get them. So any of you guys who are interested in those, talk to him. I would absolutely love to have one of those SIG 550s in my inventory. But my God, I mean, you're looking at $5 or $6 grand for those things now. I don't know how William's getting them into the country. He must know some good people. But those of you who are interested in the SIG 550s, keep an eye out for him.
In your opinion, will the ammo crisis be over in the summer?
No idea. We still have a lot of stuff going on, worrying about what Biden's going to do. So I don't see that ending anytime soon. It's frightening, the way things are going right now. You're seeing the prices of raw materials are going up. I don't know where I just saw, but they're saying that the price of copper is going up, the price of brass is going up, and then of course steel. So a lot of manufacturers right now are having a hard time getting materials. And I've talked to a lot of manufacturers who are having a hell of a time getting ammunition for them to test guns so they can sell guns. It's frightening. There's no evidence showing it right now at all that it's gonna be over anytime soon.
And I feel like we're always dealing with something new every single day. It's like with the gas shortage, and I was telling Chris about this earlier because he didn't see some of the stuff that I've seen where people were putting gasoline in plastic shopping bags. It's like
it's crazy. Fortunately, in Texas, we're not seeing that yet.
They were saying that some people were panic buying gas, but
our prices. I talked to my mother in New York today, and she was saying they're over $3 a gallon now in upstate New York. We're still. I think I just got it for what, $2.65, something like that.
I think it was $2.50 that we got it for today, which for Texas is on the higher end. Yeah. Andrew on Donnerbox says, "Thank you for answering my unpaid questions. You guys rock." Thank you, Andrew. I'm sorry, guys, if you hear a whining Yorkie in the background.
Yes,
he becomes extremely needy when we do Q&As.
Yes. It's all Terrier.
What are your thoughts on LMT versus BCM?
Well, I'm an LMT fan, straight and foremost. To be perfectly honest with you guys, I just sent a email over again to Eric Kinsel over at BCM to try to get some TD guns out of BCM so I can get more experience with them. In my career, I have only looked at 2 rifles, and I had the one was the rifle that was based off of the Canadian SFW, and the other one was one of their 16-inch Recce's. And unfortunately, at the time where I got that, the gun had to go back because I lived in the communist state of New York. I would love to have one of those in my inventory to do the testing. Mac, Tim's over my military arms channel is a friend of mine. He thinks the absolute world of BCM. I just don't have the experience with them, and I'm trying to change that. So hopefully Paul over there is going to look at our channel and say, I think that we're worth sending a gun to do some reviews on it. I like to have one and have it more, a longer term loan on it so I can do a lot more with it rather than just the typical. Their reputation is excellent. I know people who swear by their parts. They swear by everything, even though they're not a manufacturer themselves. They're an assembly place. Their specifications and their quality control is supposed to be superior, to be one of the best in the industry. So I'm hoping to get one of those guns. Excuse me, the hiccups all of a sudden. I'm hoping to get one in the near future to do some testing on.
I have a 1996 era Colt LW match target with screw and pivot pin and partial full auto block. Can uppers be switched in it? Buffer is plastic and cut out bolt. Does it require a new buffer assembly?
That rifle was part of Colt's cost reduction that backfired on them. It works. You have bolt carrier bounce with it. You're not going to be able to use that buffer on full auto. I replaced mine in a heartbeat. For as far as swapping out upper receivers, it's very easy. If you have the original Colt, with the large front pin, there is a pin that it's designed for that. It's an offset pin, so you can put a standard, a small pin upper on it. Those ones you have, those have the small pins. Both of the generations that have the screw and collet. If it's a large pin, you need the adapter. If it's a small pin, and whether it has the screw on it or not, you can use anything that you want on it. The only problem that you're going to have is with bolt carriers, because that probably has an auto sear block on it. You're going to have to stay with a non-full auto sear block, or non-full auto bolt carrier, because if you try putting a full auto one in it, the whole purpose of that auto steer block is to make it so you can't close the receiver, because the auto steer block is going to hit the front portion of that carrier, and it's not going to allow you to close it. So you're going to have to stay with a semi-matic only bolt carrier, but you can put any upper receiver that you want on that.
Thanks, E.
Thank you.
Let me go up here. Paul had contacted me earlier about asking you some questions about this. So hopefully this will help you out, Paul, because I know that you were wondering about this. He wants to know where he can get mil-spec carrier key screws.
I would look for some LMT ones. I would look for some Colt ones. You may be able to find those on Brownells. The important thing is to make sure that you torque them properly. That's 50 to 58 inch-pounds. That's what's most important with those. If you plan on staking, great. If you don't plan on staking, get some red Loctite, put them on the threads, and do the 50 to 58 inch-pounds. But to be honest with you, Colt, for instance, for the U.S. government, they don't sell those parts. If you have to replace the carrier key, you have to replace the whole bolt carrier. That's not a part that they want people messing around, because the actual mil spec for it has requirements that you clean the top of the surface of the carrier, the bottom surface of the key, and then you take a small dab of gasket sealer. Basically, you take an eraser, one of those kids' erasers that slide on top of pencils. You dip that in it, and you place it on the around the gas hole on the carrier, and you torque everything down. They do that so you don't have to worry about a gas seal for the first time shooting it, so there's no breaking in. You just got to make sure that you install it correctly.
He was the one who had the question about the 1996 era Colt match target. He wanted to clarify. He said, "Thank you."
Yeah, those rifles. The biggest problem you're ever going to have is just dealing with the bolt carrier. Those parts never change. As far as if you have a small bit mower, you can put anything on it. Large pin, just use the adapter.
Which do you prefer, Aero Precision AC 15M mid-length carbine or Windham weaponry mid-length AR-15? Assume both buffer tubes or mil-spec and stocks are identical aftermarket upgrades.
Both are excellent. If it was my money, I probably would go with Windham, just because Windham's been doing it so long. They have, they get their own parts made. It's just a little bit, I think, of a better rifle. You pay for it, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with the Aero Precision. I have several Aero Precisions. I don't have any Windhams, unfortunately, but actually, that's not true. The Windham that I have is a Windham weaponry 224 Valkyrie I have over there, but that's a loaner. That has to go back. But I probably would say overall, if it was my money, I probably would be going with that, with the Windham.
Sorry, my stomach's growling. The mic might have picked that up. Bunny wants to know CMMG Mutant or AR-10 for hunting deer and hogs.
Well, Mutant 7.62 AR-10 is going to be 308. Well, to be honest with the AR-10, you're going to have a lot more of a selection of ammunition. So because of the fact that you're going to have a lot more of a selection of ammunition, plus you can go above deer and hog if you want to with an AR-10. I probably would say the AR-10. The CMMG, you're just limited in the 7.62 ammunition as to what you can get. The 308, you can go from, in reality, 110 grain up to 200 grain.
I think we got our question. It was this one, right? We got that one.
What's the question?
Because he took his question away, and I just pulled it from down below.
Oh, okay.
Well, okay. And Flash and Paul.
We're gonna see it again.
Hopefully that helps you.
Weapon mid-length. Yeah, okay. We did get all that.
Yeah. Don't forget to hit the like button, guys. Do you have any thoughts on JTS M12 AR shotgun?
I actually would like to get my hands on one to try. The reality is, shotguns were not meant to fire from detachable magazines. And a lot of times people have been trying to do it. It's not been the most reliable situation. I haven't had a chance to review it yet. In fact, I just did a review on the ATI Bulldog. That's, I think, the second shotgun I've ever reviewed, just because I don't do much with shotguns. If I could ever get my hands on one, I would, to do a review on it. But I will tell you, the reality is magazine-fed shotguns tend just not to work as reliable as tubular fed.
What was it like working on the Vickers AR-15 book? Noticed that you were credited as a contributor.
Never worked with Larry. I work with James Rupley. You know, there was certain parts that he wanted, you know, certain blanks he wanted me to fill in. It wasn't really noteworthy at all. It just was, there was just certain areas that I filled in the blanks.
And now he gets to channel all of that energy to Black Rifle 3.
Yes, where I make money on it.
It definitely took a little twist of the arm a little bit to go from a edited version of Black Rifle 2 to actually writing Black Rifle 3. He had started it before Blake Stevens passed away, and I didn't even realize how far he had kind of gotten. And with Blake's passing, it left a hole in him to think, you know, this is never going to be. So it's exciting that it will. And, you know, I know a lot of you have, you know, I'll at least say this. I know a lot of you have wanted to, because I don't want to say everything that's going on. We will at a later time. But with Black Rifle 3, I know that a lot of people have wanted like Kindle versions, and, you know, that you can read on your devices. And I will be working to bring that to fruition so that you guys can have that. So I'm a woman of many hats.
Yes.
So our friend in Switzerland who has insomnia, that I relate. Chris can probably relate as well. That's when he does his best research, is in the hours of 3 o'clock in the morning. What do you think of Remington being back in action for ammo? I recently bought Winchester 5.56 from Brownells for less than $20 a box of 20 rounds at $13.99.
I think it's awesome. I got contacted by Remington about a month ago, let me know they're back in and they would help me out with ammunition. You know, those of you who don't know how the situation works, you know, we have manufacturers who donate ammunition to the channel so we can do the reviews. And I've had a hard time with that for quite some time. And I told this guy I need desperately 9mm and some 5.56, and he said that he'll get to me as soon as possible. So at some point in the very near future, I hope to be receiving some of this new Remington ammunition. That can certainly help the situation because of it being a major manufacturer with helping with the with the shortage. It just they're just getting back up and going. So I'm anxious to see some of the new ammunition myself.
Or he's going to have me standing with some of Houston's finest with a cardboard cutout that says change. Can you donate change for ammo?
Yeah.
Circa 2007 Demaco upper with proof mark F sight, 14.5 CMP barrel, and C BCG, supposed to be a real M4. History.
Okay, first off, if you have a 14-inch with F mark front sight base, that is not a standard Colt Canada gun. That barrel was probably made for the U.S. government for a test. Colt Canada, up until recently, Demaco never used the F mark front sight base because it wasn't necessary. What they did was they kept the original front sight base and used a slightly longer front sight. That way, when they switched from the C7s to the C7A1s, they didn't have to change out the upper receiver. All they had to do is change out the barrel, unlike the U.S. government and Colt, where you have to have the F mark front sight base to go along with the flat top upper receiver. So I'm really surprised to see that you had one in 2007 with a 14.5-inch with an F mark front sight base. You do have yourself a absolute gem right there. I don't know if you're American or Canadian, but if you're American and you got that, you are one lucky SOB.
Any chance of getting more PWS rifles, in particular their 7-inch barrel SBRs called the Diablo?
Yes. The problem is with the Diablo, you have to get it in 5.56. The 7.62x39s are only off. They only make them once a year. So they go through one distributor as far as the sales are concerned. There is a bill getting that, and I have a very good relationship with PWS, so there certainly is a good chance. I try to space out the manufacturers, so I don't do a lot of them back to back. I like to try to space them out, but you will be seeing more PWS coming up in the near future. see the dog, please.
No, because then he'll lick constantly. And
Do you
then,
want to see Levi?
and then people will complain that he's licking.
Levi. I will let them see Levi. They can see my assault terrier. This is my assault terrier.
He thinks he's a mastiff.
He does. Hey, this particular dog stored down and made a Rottweiler. I don't know how many, probably damn near 100-pound Rottweiler bowed to him. So this dog has balls of steel.
Well, he actually doesn't because I had them removed.
But he still thinks they're there.
Well, guys, thank you for joining us. Hopefully you'll see us next week. We will be having a very large filming day all day tomorrow, and I will be in the editing room, and you guys will have a new video out. It should be Saturday. And he said there's a Colt video coming too.
Yeah, that's another one we have to thank our good buddy Alex for. I'm trying to figure out how to do it because it's a gun you can't get. It was a gun that was put together, parts that was donated to something, and it has some other features that were never sold commercially, and some of the parts were never even sold military. There was a lot of prototype parts. Unfortunately, it's one of those ones that here it is. You can't have it. You know, they're not making it, but here it is. But it does show you that
cool, but you can't have it.
It does show you that Colt has done some stuff over the last couple of years.
We were shooting out ideas earlier. But thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you for everybody who donated. And
thank you very much.
We appreciate you, and look out for
a lot of new stuff.
Yeah, lots of new stuff, and make sure to mark your calendars that going forward, Q&As will be Thursdays. And I'm moving them a little bit earlier to 8, just so that, for East Coast people, it's a little bit easier.
Plus, we have to be a taxi service for our daughter to pick her up from work.
I didn't want to include that, but thank you. When you're hostage to children.
Yes.
Don't have them. It's a trap.
Thank you very much, guys. You guys have a good night. Talk to you soon.